All right, NFL fans, Raider Nation. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's having a
Fans,
nice
Raider
evening.
Nation.
A lot of Raider
Hope
fans
everybody's doing well.
were really losing their mind yesterday and today on the timeline. Just wanted to talk for a little bit. Sorry, I'm still getting set up. I sound like I'm multitasking. That's because I am just promoting it. If you want to tweet the link out to the video you're watching, let everyone know. Just want to talk about the AFC West with Russell Wilson coming in and what this means for Derek Carr, the Raiders, what it means for the Seahawks. I'm going to talk about a little bit of NFL, and I'm going to bring my Raiders into it, of course, as I always do. So, the background tonight is win, lose, or tie, Raiders till I die. And I'm becoming that kind of fan now. I'm becoming that kind of fan. So let me just get set up for a second. I'm going to get it rolling, guys. Yeah. So it's kind of crazy. Russell Wilson, right? In a matter of time, right? I'm looking at the tweet from Rappaport saying that Aaron Rodgers is going back to the Packers, right? Signing that mega deal. And I'm like, oh, yeah, Broncos fucked up, right? I swear to God, like an hour later, it comes out that the Broncos have made one of the biggest trades in NFL history as far as what they gave up and for who they got. And that was trading basically day one and day two of day one and first and second round picks essentially for the next 2 years to get Russell Wilson. They also give up 3 players. One of them is Drew Lock, so that felt like someone that got stapled to the damn thing. Like, here, you take this too. I don't want it. No, come on, just take it. Felt like that. But the Broncos also gave up Shelby Harris, decent nose tackle. Raider Nation might remember him from the O line or the D line back in 2016, 2017 era, where we had a bunch of good players that never really got any playing time for some reason because of Bruce Irvin and whoever the hell we had a defensive tackle. I don't even remember at that time, but it wasn't Danico Autry and Shelby Harris because those guys were good. But nonetheless, I see that Russell Wilson gets traded to the Broncos. And that scares me, right? Because, obviously the Broncos are coming from Teddy Bridgewater, right? Teddy Bridgewater to, Drew Lock and that type of stuff, which, they have a decent roster. And I'll get more into that in a second. But the problem with it is that the Broncos are not a doormat anymore. I think that's fair to say. That Broncos have earned that from now in March of 2022. The Broncos are not a doormat, right? They have Russell Wilson. He's going to keep you in games, right? He's going to keep you in games. It's not Drew Lock. It's not Teddy Bridgewater. That being said, the thing I keep hearing about, actually, before I get that, the Seahawks, right? Everybody's killing the Seahawks for this. Oh, you gave up on Russell Wilson. Oh, you didn't get enough in return. And, Seattle probably wasn't, Russell Wilson's, I think his mobility is not quite what it was when he first got there, right? Obviously, he's in his 30s now. Quarterbacks don't usually keep that lightning quick mobility. It's what makes Russell Wilson special, but I don't know that he might have that still, but I don't know how long that's going to be there. And Seattle's selling high on him, right? Seattle's selling high. They it remains to be seen if they're going to be able to replace him. They have not been a good drafting team of late. Seattle. They've found guys like DK Metcalf and stuff like that, but to be honest, for the most part, they're guys like Jordan Brooks that they're drafting in the first round. Rashad Penny's a decent running back, but he's a running back, right? And Chris Carson was starting over him a lot of the time, and they haven't been the best. So it remains to be seen that if they can replace Russell Wilson with even somebody kind of good, with using those other picks to build around that next quarterback. We're not sure about that. Again, if we're Raider fans, we know that just because you have a bunch of draft picks does not mean that you're going to build a contender, right? We saw that basically fall apart for the Raiders over the Gruden era, essentially. But I am starting to really get annoyed, and I'm typically not this guy. I'm typically negative. Anybody who's been listening to my show, watching my show for a while, knows that I'm kind of I consider myself a realist, but it probably sounds pretty negative, you know. But right now, I have a lot of positivity about the Raiders, right? And people will say, "Why, Glenn? We have Derek Carr. He's the fourth best quarterback in the division, which translates to worst quarterback in the division. Compared to this loaded, all pro level quarterback division, Mahomes, Herbert, Russell Wilson. Yeah, it's stacked. I'll give you that. Derek Carr is the fourth best quarterback in this division. I'll say that right now. Just off of raw talent alone. But here's the thing: I'm not going to let you take March football from me. Right? What is March football? March football is all about hope because no game can be played. There's no final score. It's all about hope. And almost every year as a Raider fan, although the last 2 years I was not as excited because I knew we had John Gruden and Mike Mayock. I kind of knew that I would be surprised and sad at the same time, which is a really bad combination when it's your NFL team, right? Like you want to be able to be predictably sad, and the Raiders, they would draft a not great in the first round, right? They would draft not great, and but it would surprise you with how bad it would be. Like I never thought they'd pick that guy. You know what I mean? Like Damon Arnett, right? Like all that kind of stuff. But right now, I have a sense of optimism because I think the Raiders have a GM in Dave Ziegler that I think understands how to be a GM in 2022. That sounds kind of basic, right? But I don't think Mike Mayock did. I was just on Marcus Johnson's show, Tape Don't Lie, the other night. That's out right now. We did the top 10 wide receivers in the draft from Marcus's list and talked about that. So go ahead and check that video out if you haven't already. But, we were talking about how coaches probably just fell in love with interviews at the combine. And if a guy had like a little edge like Abram, if a guy had like some cockiness to him, like I think Gruden really liked him. And then Mayock seemed to like the guys like Cleveland Furl who come, from like military families and stuff. And I think Ziegler's going to go for traits a little bit more, athletic traits. It's never been an easier time to draft a raw athlete and make him a good player. At any position, I would say right now, to be honest. Like, I think raw athleticism is prevailing in the NFL more than ever. I actually think if Al Davis was drafting right now, I think he'd be a lot better than he was in 2006, 2007, up until his death. I think he'd be a lot better now doing that because I think it's just easier to take a swing on raw athleticism. You can't reach as hard as he did sometimes, but like for the most part, like I think he takes DK Metcalf number one overall the year DK Metcalf came out, right? And at the time, it's looked at as insane, but he'd be a good wide receiver at least, or number 4 overall, I should say, that year in the Cleveland Furl draft. But yeah, it's just I think they were falling. I didn't trust the last regime, is what I'm getting at. I didn't trust the last regime. But right now, I have a sense of optimism for the Raiders, and I feel like everybody outside, including inside Raider fandom, Raider Nation, and everything, they are really like they're like, no, I'm not excited about this anymore. I don't even want to watch this year. It's over. And that to me is just like I don't know, man. Did you not watch a 10-win football team last year? Which at times it didn't feel like a 10-win team, and I think talent wise, I think they overperformed a little bit. But I think they've upgraded the front office and coaching staff, and it's a 10-win team. That to me, I don't care what the rest of the division looks like. The AFC West is that's 4 teams in it, right? Excluding your own team, you play 6 division games out of a 17-game schedule, right? Your division's not everything, right? Yeah, I understand. It can separate. I think it's going to be tough for the Raiders to win the division. But whether Russell Wilson was on the Broncos or not, it was going to be tough for the Raiders to win the division, right? Kansas City is still the top dog in the division. They are, right? They are. But it's weird when you listen. I listen to a lot of places. Like I actually kind of enjoy some of the PFF podcasts and programming, but they talk about the Raiders like they won 3 games last year. It's insane, right? Like I think they overperformed a little bit last year, but given everything that happened, I think overperforming with that talent that they had, given all the turmoil that was happening last year, like I think they get credit for that. I don't think that's all luck. And, some of that's Rich Bisaccia, some of that was, rallying people around, but a lot of that was Derek Carr, a lot of that was the defense, a lot of that was Max Crosby getting constant pressure late in those games. A lot of that was Casey Hayward, a lot of that was, there's a lot of stuff that went right. And a lot of that was Daniel Carlson too, like they were knocking stuff down. But it's weird how that season almost feels discarded to everybody, right? I've actually been more impressed with what the Raiders have did last year as it's gone by. I mean, after that loss to the Bengals, I was like, whatever, forget about it. Doesn't mean anything. Like, back to square one. Right. But now after these hires and just seeing the easy areas that the Raiders can improve in, I'm really excited about like what can happen. I mean, they are like 3 to 4 good moves. And I'm not even saying star players need to come in, just 3 to 4 really good moves I think from really taking a big step forward, division or not, right? You can control what happens on your 53-man roster. And the Raiders have had huge, huge areas of need in those rosters that they have not been able to address due to poor front office work, right? They've had all the picks in the world. They've had all the cap space in the world. Like you can't really have more than they've had. Um, in from 2018 to 2020, right? Like they had everything they needed to be successful, and they didn't, right? To be fair, they also haven't had a losing season in 2 seasons, since what? Yeah, 2018 was their last losing season. So, for a long time it was non-winning seasons, but now that they had a winning season, they haven't had a losing season in a while. And I think a lot of people are, it's a tough sell for a lot of people. They're sad right now. But let's take a look at the other teams in the division, right? Let's take a look at how unattainable passing these teams would be, apparently, according to the rest of the league, right? So let's start with the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Kansas City Chiefs, look, they feel tough. They feel tough. Last year they scored, 80 something points. I think it was like 80 points against the Raiders last year. I mean, I don't care to count. Some of those games, I'll be real with you. I didn't even watch the fourth quarter of some of those games. Like I'm like, man, no, we were getting our ass whipped. So look, they're still the team to beat, and I think they're probably the team to beat in the NFL right now. Them in Buffalo. And what to say that maybe the Chiefs are, I think some of the stuff Andy Reid did in the playoffs last year was interesting. And if you talk to some Chiefs fans, I think they're being a little ungrateful now, but they have had some concerns with what Andy Reid's done since the Super Bowl win, coaching wise. Kansas City for much of the year was not the dynamic offensive powerhouse that we would assume they'd be for a lot of the year last year. Now, I think they're on the flip side, I thought their defense overperformed their talent and played really well and kept their team in games a lot. They forced turnovers and they were just well coached. Good scheme from Steve Spagnuolo. And you still have Patrick Mahomes there to make big throws when you need him. They're the team to beat. So I'm not really going to be, but even then, Charvarius Ward's probably going to walk in free agency. You know, um, they're going to lose some guys. Tyrann Mathieu, I think, is going to leave in free agency. I don't think they have the money to pay those guys. And I'm not sure they're going to be able to be a huge player in free agents. Now they could get some guys to take a short deal to come try to win with them. That's the benefit that they have as being the Chiefs, is that everybody's going to want to maybe take that cheaper 1-year deal, have a deep playoff run, and get a big contract coming off that. They can be that team. But I think they're not as, they don't look as crazy as they did before Patrick Mahomes got paid, right? And I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes has played bad since he got paid. I'm just saying it's tougher to build a team, as the Raiders might learn soon. It's tougher to build a team to around a $45 million quarterback. It's just a year. It's just tougher, right? You could still do it. They've done it, but it's tougher. Your margin for error is you can't really miss on a lot of signings. So, they've and I think the Raiders, they got their ass kicked last year, but I think Patrick Graham's going to actually know what to do against Patrick Mahomes. Now, you can know what to do against Patrick Mahomes and still lose, but I think Gus Bradley just got way too hard-headed. He said, my scheme is my scheme. This is what we play. We're not going to play too high looks against Patrick Mahomes, and they are one of the few teams that didn't last year, and they got smoked twice. So that's all on tape. And I think if Patrick Graham is even 30% of what I think he is, I think he's going to understand that, and Patrick Graham plays a lot of 3 safety looks. And that's what the Raiders need against the Chiefs. You have to stop their passing attack. You stop their passing attack, you can beat them. I mean, do you stop it or do you just limit it? That's up for debate, but I think the Raiders need to work on getting some horses out there to stop that passing attack, right? That is the team I'm still trying to build my team to beat, right? Now let's go to the Chargers. The Chargers, Justin Herbert, right? I mean, the guy, so he should have a statue in every city, right? He's the greatest, right? I mean, I have him slightly above. Okay. How about this? I have him slightly above Marino, slightly above Peyton Manning, and just behind Tom Brady. He's the greatest of all time, right? That's how everybody talks about him. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. He's good. He's very good. He's probably a top 5 talent in the NFL at quarterback, if not even top 3 talent. I mean, he's got a cannon. He can run. He looks like a pretty smart quarterback. But the fact of the matter is if I insert a quarterback into the top 5 of the league, they have to win. They have to win. He has not even gone to the playoffs yet. He does not even have a winning record against Derek Carr. And if you throw out the game where Derek Carr on the first drive of the game had to come out because of his groin injury and, the Mariota game, even that went to overtime, right? So he doesn't have a winning record against them. It's not like the Chargers don't have any talent, right? They have Mike Williams. They had Keenan Allen. They have Austin Eckler. They have a decent offensive line now. They have some good players on defense, but they didn't play that well on defense last year. And their coaches consider one of these golden boys that's supposed to be smarter than anybody he's coaching against. So I don't understand what a top 5 quarterback's doing missing the playoffs and losing to Derek Carr in his final week of the year, right? In the final week of the season on a play-in game. Hey, I don't know what's going on there. That being said, I expect Justin Herbert I wouldn't bet against Justin Herbert making the playoffs, but he's I wouldn't expect him to. I wouldn't expect him to miss that many playoffs. But at the end of the day, you can't crown somebody for something they haven't done. Right? Everything about Justin Herbert is a projection right now. So I don't understand why they, and everyone picks them to win the Super Bowl every year, right? Just right now, people say, "Hey, the best bet, 4-1 odds, them winning the AFC West." All right, that's fine. Just throw the money down the drain. Truly. I'm not scared of the Chargers. It sucks that Herbert's in the division. He's a little ass. He's a fucking little. I don't know, man. He's a little pain in the ass. I don't know what I was trying to say there. He's a little pain in the ass. Maybe I had a little something else on the tongue there, but I'll keep it PG for YouTube. But he was, he's obviously very good, but I'd rather him not be in the division. But he shouldn't be crowned, or they're giving him a bust in the Hall of Fame. Like, none of that should be happening. He's not in Canton yet for the stuff he's done in the NFL. Make him prove more that he's a winner now, right? Russell Wilson goes to the Broncos. So we're gonna go there now. And one more thing about the Chargers, they do have some cap space, right? They have some cap space. That's the benefit they have of having a really good quarterback on a rookie deal, right? Is you can just go all in. Every signing makes sense. Every weapon you bring in makes sense because you're just trying to maximize Justin Herbert's value to your team right now before you have to pay him, because then you get in the Mahomes situation where it's a lot tougher to build around, right? So the Chargers, that's something to watch out for. But again, it feels like every year they make huge free agent signings. Every year they have a draft that I like. I'm like, I dislike it, but it's good. Like, I hate that it's good. Last year they took a bunch of guys I liked and stuff, but at the end of the day, you have to win, right? You have to win. I mean, the guy's got a losing record for his career right now, Justin Herbert. So we should not be crowning him, you know? I think he's more talented than Joe Burrow, but Joe Burrow's a better quarterback right now. I mean, it's just straight up. So if we are moving on to the Broncos, this is where it lost me, right? I'm on the timeline. I expected some Raider fan meltdowns, right? A lot of Raider fans wanted to trade for Russell Wilson. You can go back to my streams. I was not huge on trading for Russell Wilson. I'd say for, if all they, if it's the price is right, I guess I would do it, but I wasn't really that enthused by it. That price they gave up, that wasn't right to me. I wouldn't have done that personally. Truly, I'll say it now. I wouldn't have done it, and you can go to my old streams. I was not a let's go get Russell Wilson, and now I'm coping that we didn't. It's facts. I wasn't. It's just not the guy that I wanted for this team. If Russell Wilson was a free agent, I say you pursue him, right? It's different that way. They didn't have to give anything up for him. But what the Broncos are doing right now, and I don't fault them for going all in. I just think that they're copying the Rams model, but the Rams were in a better spot to do it than they were, right? I think that the Rams had a proven coach, Sean McVay, that he could get to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff. They got to the Super Bowl. They lost. They didn't score any points damn near in there. They didn't perform well. He understood he needed to make an upgrade. He had an all-pro, maybe the greatest defensive player that we'll end up seeing in our lifetime, Aaron Donald. Like it could happen, right? If he plays more, he might be the GOAT, like when all is said and done. And Cooper Kupp, who had the single greatest receiving season of all time and was good before Stafford got there. He was a very good player. And even then the Rams for a while, they weren't in first place for a long time. They got hot at the end. They had some things go right against the 49ers in the playoffs. Like they didn't roll, right? They didn't coast into there, right? They didn't just coast into the playoffs. They didn't, they every single game in the playoffs after the Arizona game was all very close, one score game. I'd argue that the defense, really, really got it done there. And Stafford made a few big throws that he had to make. So fast forward to Denver. Denver doesn't have an Aaron Donald, right? No one does. That's why this method that the Rams are doing isn't sustainable. Now, I think what they think is going to happen is going to be like Tampa Bay getting Tom Brady. But I don't know. You're talking about the GOAT here, right? Like Tampa Bay, they drafted really well. Jason Light came in, did really well. They kept their picks, right? And that's where this is different than Russell Wilson. They didn't have to give up anything for Tom Brady. They just had to sign him. So they were able to keep their 14th overall pick and get Tristan Wirfs, stick him at tackle, and he had a great rookie season at tackle. They didn't have to give up 2 seconds or anything like Denver had to. So Denver had to give up a bunch of stuff. I don't know that they have like a nice solid roster, but I don't see anybody on that roster as like great or generational, right? Cortland Sutton's very good wide receiver. Gets hurt a lot, but he's very good. Jerry Jeudy's all a projection right now. Jerry Jeudy has not had a good season in the NFL yet. It's very Justin Herbert like, right? Hasn't had the good season yet. People remember him from the draft. People remember him from Alabama. People think he's going to be good. Probably is going to put up better numbers than he is now. I mean, now that he has a better quarterback, that's probably a safe bet. But he's not a proven commodity. And Tim Patrick's really good too. They have 2 really good wide receivers. Russell Wilson doesn't really use the tight end, so I'd understand why they got rid of Noah Fant, and they're going to keep Alberto out there. Like that makes a little more sense to me. Their offensive line's solid. Javonte Williams looks like he's going to be a good running back. And on defense, they have a solid defense. Like I'm saying, they got a lot better. And I'd say they're definitely like they're definitely going to battle. But, on the flip side, Russell Wilson hasn't played well against Patrick Graham. Not of late, at least. And if you're a Raider fan, you probably have the scheme you want to play against them. Now it's up for the Raiders to fill that scheme up with good players that can execute it properly. And that remains to be seen if the Raiders are going to do that anytime soon. But it's a new dawn. It's a new day. So we got a new front office. So at least we have that optimism. This is why I hated when people were like, "The season's over." It's like, "No, it's March. This is the time for a Raider fan. You're not taking the month of March from me, where I can talk myself into every free agent signing." Oh, that no, that fits. I watch that fits. Oh man, we got this, man. I'm getting up excited for the draft, right? You know all that stuff. You can talk yourself into anything in March, but Raider fans are talking themselves out of even competing next year, and that doesn't make any sense to me. Um, and I understand it all comes down to Carr. I'm going to close out with Carr later, but let's talk a little bit more about the Broncos. This doesn't strike me as a Stafford to now. I think Russell Wilson might be better than Stafford, but I don't think he's going to age as well as Stafford, if that makes any sense. Russell Wilson relies on extending the play to when for his elite moments, right? I think Russell Wilson's a great quarterback, regardless if he can move his legs or not, or run around. But what makes him that special quarterback that people give up their draft for is those crazy Russell Wilson plays where he runs around for 13 seconds and then throws the ball. And the receiver makes a great catch. Like that's what we watch Russell Wilson for. And how long do those I mean, I even saw last year maybe his escapability wasn't quite what it was, and who can blame him? He's getting older. And if that's not there, I don't think Russell Wilson, like I said, is as elite as before. So as Raider fans, let's hope that he's not able to use his legs as much and that he has to play from the pocket a little bit more, where I think he's still very good, but it's just not the same. It's not, and I don't think that's what the Broncos are trading for. I don't think they're trading for pocket passer Russell Wilson. And like I said, they have a lot to prove, right? It's similar to Tampa Bay with Tom Brady, but again, you're talking about the best quarterback of all time, and you're talking about a team that only had to pay him money, not picks and resources. Tampa got to keep everybody that was there. So that's what I think is it had to be said, right? It had to be said. I think a lot of fans are really down on this. And here's where a lot of the pessimism comes from, right? A lot of the pessimism comes from they want Derek Carr traded, right? There's rumors right now, right? Rich Eisen show, I think what it was saying that the Colts are going to go all in on Derek Carr to trade for him. And before I say the likelihood of that, let me just say where I stand on this. I think the idea, and I could go either way because I do trust this front office. I do trust this front office as of now. I have no reason not to yet, right? Maybe I could be cautiously optimistic, but they haven't burned me yet, so I'm going to trust them. So if they do get a huge offer for Carr, I'm fine. Take it. It's got to be a big offer though, because I don't know that you're going to replace him this year, so you need that big offer, to sweeten the deal. I think this season would be kind of compromised in more ways than one. Just that's fine if you're okay with that. That's fine. I'd be okay if I knew that we had a bunch of picks, because there is some talent on this team. We're not desolate, so we'd be able to build from already a okay foundation, okay to fine foundation. Max Crosby, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, guys like that, But I don't think the objective is. I don't think the Raiders are shopping Derek Carr. But I don't think Ziegler hangs up the phone. Right? I think John Gruden was hanging up the phone. I think he was disconnecting it, unplugging that shit. I don't think he was taking any calls on Derek Carr. But I think Dave Ziegler, I think he is out. He doesn't have the intention in doing it, but if they get a huge offer for Carr, because right now the quarterback market is ugly, and there are a lot of needs for a starting quarterback on teams with maybe better talent than the Raiders have right now around Derek Carr. Like I could see the New Orleans Saints getting desperate, right? Dennis Allen and Derek Carr, maybe the old bond is a thing, I know Allen was only here for a few games, but didn't survive the London trip. But maybe there's a connection there. The Steelers I could see too. They're sitting at in the 20s. They even then, do they want out of this class to hand the keys over to a rookie with talent that they feel is pretty good already, that could just have a veteran who could just operate the system and make smart decisions and still has a good arm? I think that would be good. So if they wanted to give up multiple firsts for Carr, it'd have to be multiple firsts at least for me to want to do the trick. I don't, one first doesn't do it for me. One first and some change doesn't do it for me. A lot of people are talking about deals involving players. Um, Look at what the Seattle got. Do you want those caliber of players in return, or would you just rather have more picks? I'd rather have more picks personally. I don't like people are saying the Colts, oh, Darius Leonard or DeForest Buckner, like one of those guys got to be in the deal. I'm like, no, the Colts are trading for Derek Carr because they think they have the talent around him. They're not going to trade the talent around him to get him, because then you just have Carr on the Raiders, right? With couple guys around him, nothing crazy. You wouldn't do that, right? Like that doesn't make sense. I want picks. Give me picks, 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 picks. I don't even need a quarterback in return. So, I think they're listening, right? I think they're listening, and I think you should listen, because Carr's not untouchable. He is the fourth best quarterback in the division. So therefore he's not untouchable. Like, that's just, you have to listen. But I think the idea is that they probably will pay Carr. Until they do pay Carr, I think it's fair to speculate that they are, weighing their options right now, though. They said the talks haven't even started yet. So we have reason to believe that, they might be waiting for a little bit, waiting for this chaos to clear for the first week of free agency, see if they get that offer that, perks their ears up, But with Carr, I think he's going to be here. I think we have to operate right now as Raider fans as though he's going to be here. And that's okay. It's not the end of the world. Okay? I'm sure if you hate Derek Carr and you want him gone, I'm sure you're tired of hearing this, but the 49ers did go to the NFC Championship game with maybe a bottom 3 quarterback in football, starting quarterback. So, yes. Okay, hold on. I'm getting a couple questions here. M85, the player thrown in is to compensate for the no first round pick potentially. Okay, but I need a player that's worth a first round pick. The Colts wouldn't trade a player worth a first round pick because they want to keep him to win with Derek Carr. You're getting Derek Carr to jump in to a team where all he's got to do is just turn the key and drive the car, right? No pun intended. I truly didn't mean to do that. That sounded stupid, but you're not going to be like, well, here's DeForest Buckner. No, I want DeForest Buckner with Derek Carr. That's going to be my title run team for the Colts. You have to think like they're thinking. They're going to try to give you like fucking Paris Campbell or something, or any of that stuff. Like you're going to get guys like that back in return. They don't have picks. That's what I'm saying. Like they have their. I mean, they'd have to throw in a bunch of mid-round. I don't want a bunch of mid-round picks for Derek Carr. I want 2 firsts. I need 2 firsts, 1 this draft, 1 the next draft. That's what I need. There's other teams that can do it. I think the Saints could do it, and I think that the Steelers could do it. And I think there are other teams calling on it. I could see Carolina, another team that's very interesting. Carolina is trying to go for Watson. They want to go for him. I don't know if that's going to end up happening. So let's say it doesn't happen, right? If the Carolina Panthers call. The Carolina Panthers only have 1 pick in the first 3 rounds, but it's pick number 6, right? 6 overall. That's pretty good. So if you could get pick 6 overall plus their first next year, I do that, because I don't think Carolina's that good. I think Derek Carr over there doesn't really move the needle the way. I mean, I think he the division's weak. Maybe he could get them to kind of compete for the division, but anyways. The reason I'm talking about Indy is because the rumors were about Indy today. That's all I'm talking about. I don't think he's going to get traded to Indy. I don't want him to get traded to Indy because I don't like the picks that they have. That's my take on that. The Eagles, I thought about that, actually. I did think about that, but maybe They might want to keep the rookie contract with Jalen Hurts and just use those 3 firsts on talent around him. I'd understand if they did, but to be honest, I would definitely, they definitely have it. So yeah, there's Browns ones too. To me, I don't know. I'm not right now. I'm operating on the fact that Derek Carr's gonna start for the Raiders this year. That's what I think. I mean, I think I'm about 70-30. I posted about it today. I'm about 70-30. 70% they keep him, 30% they're waiting. Okay, blow me away, guys. Like he is the top quarterback on the market right now. He is. I mean, he's the top quarter. We say Watson. I think Watson's coming with a suspension. So I think Watson's coming with a suspension, and there's just a lot going on there. I mean, you got to wait till tomorrow. I think something's happening with Deshaun Watson's cases tomorrow or something like that. Something's happening. So right now, Derek Carr doesn't come with that kind of stuff. It might be a little bit more worth it right now. But I say all that to say this. If they keep Derek Carr and don't trade him right now, they will have to pay him. It does not make sense to let him walk next year and just get a 3rd-round pick back. That's worse than anything to me. Like, that's dumb. You don't get a pick to replace him with unless you somehow luck into another quarterback. But the Raiders don't really have a lot of extra picks right now to blow other teams away. Yeah, you never know next year. Maybe somebody's a free agent that we didn't expect at this point this year. So I think he's here, and I don't think that's a death sentence. I don't think that's a death sentence the way that other people do. Again, Jimmy G wins. They didn't win the West, but they ended up going to the NFC Championship game, taking the Super Bowl champion Rams down to the last possession. And Jimmy G, I think, is a lot worse than Derek Carr. Not just worse than Derek Carr, a lot worse, right? What do the 49ers have? They've built talent around that team. They have a good coach. I think the Raiders got a good coach. I'm all in on McDaniels right now. I am. As of now, you got to let me have the month of March. Let me be all in, right? When it was Gruden, it just felt like Groundhog Day, right? So I kind of lost those months of March where I was excited, but I have those now. So let me get excited about this. I think McDaniels is good. I think they'll end up extending Derek Carr 2 to 3 year deal. The money might look crazy, but I think that's the payoff for the short-term deal is you pay him a lot for a shorter time. I'd rather do that than like 5 years at a lower rate personally. I'd like to be able to get out of it after a year or two because as much as I actually appreciate the way Carr played last year for the most part is that's what's gotten me back on like, okay, I know this guy's got something more than just like the mundane run-of-the-mill quarterback. So I think so here's the thing about Carr. The Raiders have never not had enough money to surround Derek Carr with talent. That's never been the case. They've never been up against the cap like we cannot afford to get any receivers for Derek Carr. No, they haven't. They just have not made the right signings. And I don't necessarily mean for receivers. I just mean everybody, right? The cornerbacks, the safeties they've brought in, the pass rushers they've brought in. These guys, for the most part, they just have not been a well-run organization, right? And the 49ers have. The 49ers have good schemes, coaching schemes, and John Lynch has been able to supply them with talent to operate those schemes. And they have a deadly running attack. And the Raiders have they blew 5 first-round picks. Truly. I don't even consider Jacobs to be a good first-round pick. I'm sorry. I know that's crazy. I just don't. I don't think he's a bad running back. I don't think he's bad. I'm sorry. Like, if that's your only good one is a running back, you took at 24 when you had 3 shots in the first round. No, I'm sorry. Like, they weren't good. And that's okay. That era's over, right? That's done. It's not okay. It sucks. It still pisses me off. But it's a new dawn. It's a new day, right? It set the franchise back for a long time. And what I'm saying is it's never been lack of resources. It's never been lack of anything. And now is Carr elite? No, he is not. So I understand wanting to go on to elite quarterback. I still wouldn't have given up all that for Russell Wilson. That's all I'm saying. Because I don't think that's the kind of elite I'm chasing. Elite to me is like someone who's like Deshaun Watson's age without Deshaun Watson's baggage, right? If the Raiders made an offer at that, I guess, right? I wouldn't hate it. I would have to know the suspension and legality and stuff going on. I'd have to know all about that. So he's kind of the best option right now, and that's what you have to decide. Like, do I want to tank this season, or do I want? McDaniels is saying he doesn't want to rebuild. I don't know if that's coach speak or not, but dude, this is the best chance if they want to try to compete in this division, which they should. It's not unwinnable, and even then, I could see 3 wild card teams making the playoffs, and it's like again. I've already gone through the teams in the division. There's only one team I think that's guaranteed to make the playoffs in this division, and that's Kansas City, provided the big three stay healthy for them. So I think it's weird. I remember when McDaniels got hired, it was like, dude, what are you doing? That's really scary. Like you're picking the wrong division. This is what you lift the Patriots for. You're picking the wrong division. Coaches don't think about that. Coaches look at what they're taking care of. This is my roster. And let's be real. I think I said this before, but McDaniels picked this job. Derek Carr is one of the reasons, if not the reason, he picked the job, right? He's talking about all the great history of this organization. Everybody says that when they get a job with the Raiders. We know about the history. But coaches aren't thinking about history when they come take a job. They look at what's there, right? What's there. The Raiders don't have a bunch of picks, so it's not like he got there and the Raiders had the 5 first-round picks Mayock had, right? It's not like they had those. They have just a pick in every round. It's very basic. They have some cap space, but when you're looking at it, it's like, do you think an offensive guy picked the team because of Max Crosby? No. Renfro and Waller possibly, but I think if without somebody that he likes throwing to him, I don't think that's really all that enticing to leave the New England Patriots for. I think a lot of it was for Carr. And like I said, he's not untouchable. If you blow him away and you give him a bunch of picks that he thinks he can find his guy with, him and Ziegler, yeah, I think it happens. But for the most part, I think he picked this job because of Carr. So it's not. I mean, if you hate Derek Carr, it's. I understand why right now is like a pivotal time for you because there's a lot of rumors. But I think the objective is to have him stay, barring some surprise. And you're right. There are Chris Rivera in the comments saying there's only like 4 elite quarterbacks in the league, right? And right now you're seeing a shortage around the league. Washington has to trade 2 third-round picks for Carson Wentz. The Saints are probably gonna have to bring back Jameis Winston. I mean, unless they want to give up everything for Derek Carr. And at that point, you're giving up everything for Derek Carr. I mean, I like Carr, but it's like I like Derek Carr because the Raiders have him right now. I wouldn't want to be like I need to trade drafts and drafts and drafts and drafts for him, right? And that's what I want for him. You're asking the Raiders to take a year off, right? After they haven't had a losing season in a couple of years. You're asking them to take a year off by taking Derek Carr off their hands, essentially, because I just don't see them unless one of these draft quarterbacks just hits a home run and the Raiders take one of them. I don't know. I think it would be a lost year. So yeah, that's all I really wanted to talk about tonight. Is that I'm not. You're not going to take the month of March from me and my optimism. I'm excited for the Raiders. They have an opportunity. Like I said, they're 3 or 4. I guess I'll talk a little more. They're a couple moves away, right? What are some areas you could fix overnight with the cap room the Raiders have? Guards are cheap, right? You could go get a guard for very, very cheap. That's good. And right then and there, you've gotten better, right? Because the Raiders were horrible up the middle, right? If they want to replace Andre James, it's not that expensive to do. I mean, you'll have to take the dead cap on Andre James or just leave him as a backup or something like that. But you can do these types of things, right? Wide receivers are expensive. Wide receivers are expensive. See, Roland Dubs is already being negative in the comments. Look, man, I like you and all that stuff, but you're talking about in March not making the playoffs right now just because Denver traded for Russell Wilson. I don't know, man. They made the playoffs last year, and I think I think the Raiders are gonna have a better roster this year than they did last year. So I'm just not gonna write the Raiders off. I'm not going to. I won't do it in March. I won't let you tell me that. You can mutter that to yourself. Maybe it's reverse psychology. I'm Raider Glen. Okay. Raider Glen 223571. Okay. That's my new Twitter handle tomorrow. I protect the shield, the Raider shield. Okay. I'm a Raider stan now. You saw how negative I was the last couple years? That's because of Gruden and Mayock. I didn't like who was running the organization. Let's go. Let's go. Okay. Back to what I was saying. Here's how you fix the Raiders, right? You attack the secondary. Now you do have to. You have to. This is where Russell Wilson coming to the Broncos really, really changes what you have to do. We need the secondary. You need to constantly be adding to the secondary because you're just gonna have to cover these guys. You need pass rush, but at the end of the day, you have to cover against these quarterbacks, right? You have to. And that's what's gonna happen. That's what's gonna happen. They're gonna have to go hard on getting corners. They're going to have to get some linebackers that can cover a little stuff. These things can happen, right? You chip away. You're not going to fill every need this year. I understand that. You're not going to fill every single need. So to me, add a little bit to the secondary. I'd rather them go bargain shopping in free agency. I'd rather have quantity. I want depth. I want multiple guys at the positions. You know what I mean? You could try to go get a James Bradbury. You could try to go get a Stephon Gilmore. You could try to go get J.C. Jackson. That I'm okay with that. I think they should try to do that, but let's make sure that you just keep peppering depth around this roster because you have to draft your stars in this league, right? You could go try to sign stars. You could try to go trade for stars here and there. It works, but they're going to have to draft their stars. I'd like to get some bargain 2s and 3s on the wide receiver core, do that. And then I want to draft the number 1 if he's there at 22 overall, right? But if he's not, that's fine. Maybe they trade back and go get a Zion Johnson, right? A guard, so a really good guard. If they trade back, get some picks, do a real Patriot way, and then get a nice guard that starts for you for 5-6 years, and then you let him leave in free agency, get the compensation pay. This is how a good, well-oiled machine works, and I think we're going to start seeing that. I'm positive. Raider Nation, good days are coming. Good days are coming. Okay. Ever seen Grandma's Boy, where the guy talks about the dream he has, and he says, "Good things are coming. Good things are coming." Cheers, Raider Nation. I'm Glen Rockney. Follow me on Twitter at Glen Rockney. Don't be so sad. Okay. If you're sad, go find another hobby until the season starts to be sad. You don't need to be sad 12 months out of the year for these Raiders. See you guys.